Okay, so we will start the Personnel Board meeting. Um, So the first item we have on the agenda is the Facilities Administrative Assistant job description. And Brenny,
Yeah, if you could, I talked with, I know we tabled at the last meeting, and I talked with the facilities director, Mr. Farragut, and also the DPW superintendent, Mr. Bartlett. And at this point, I still think this needs some more clarification. So I'd like to just make a motion that we could table this again until we get some more information or more clarity from both of them.
I'll second.
okay, so do I have a motion?
I'll second.
Yep,
Sounds good to me.
okay. We'll table that. Next item is the new salary schedule, the proposal. So we'll continue on with the agenda, and if Matt Cobus comes, then he was gonna make a presentation on that.
He said he's 5 minutes out.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
So item 3, Human Resources Manager Employment Negotiations.
Sounds like we just met him.
I think we had a request though.
Yes, Madam Chair, thank you. A new human resource manager employee started work today. There was a request during negotiations for some additional vacation leave. So there's 2 weeks minimum that's awarded to new employees. And this employee had asked if that could be increased to 3 weeks for start time, and after 2 years to consider going to 4 weeks. So, there has been a precedent in the past that, the personnel board has approved these type of requests in the past. So,
Right.
and, realizing the current recruiting field for municipal positions, and this candidate did have municipal experience, municipal background. So we wanted to put forward that request to the board for consideration.
I'll make a motion to award to 3 weeks vacation for the purpose of a second, and see if there's any other additional discussion.
I'll second.
Okay,
Mike,
all in favor?
wait, hang on. So we're voting on the 3 weeks, but the 4 weeks in 2 years, are we voting on that, or is that something the board would have to deal with in 2 years?
I think if you wanted to do, I think you could take it up right now and do it all at once, and it would just kick in. You would have to track it to kick in at that time, but that was the request. So I was just putting forward what the request was from the employee. So
All right, so I'll amend the motion to approve 3 weeks vacation, and after 2 years, have it go to 4 weeks.
I'll second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, motion passed. So we will increase the vacation time initially to 3 weeks, and then in 2 years.
thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Not, there may be, but not here. This is the personnel board meeting. Oh, here we go.
So next item on the agenda is the Board of Health sick leave review. So, as you know, we've been discussing some back sick time on some of the members of the Board of Health. And now we are looking to have this discussion and finalize it today. Brenny, did we get back pay information?
Yeah, I mean, Meg provided which I forwarded everybody, the date
Mhm.
that everybody was hired, but
Right.
I don't know if you need to make a motion, or am I of the opinion that we have voted on this, and
We
the
have.
effective date was last July, so I can make, I don't know if you need a motion to keep that, the way it is, then I'll make a motion that we just, I don't know, follow through it, or just don't, keep,
All right.
I don't know what the wording, we basically just keep
Right.
it, keep
So-
what we have. right?
So do I have a motion to keep it what we voted on at the previous meeting? To go back as far as, what was it, 2 years?
July
July of
this year.
this year.
July of 24, right.
Right. or,
So we're basically voting,
So they would,
we're voting again on what we voted
Right,
prior.
just-
And we're going, and we're basically saying that's
That's
what
it.
we're,
yes.
that's what we're doing.
That's correct.
Okay.
I think if we're not changing anything, I don't think an additional motion needs to be
You might
made,
be right.
other
That
than
might be
just
true.
to say in general, like, hey, you know,
so we're not.
I mean, I would obviously abstain from any vote. I wasn't
Right.
here at that point in time, but if you're sticking with what you had and that's what's on the books, then I don't know that any notion is needed for
I
that.
think the only thing we'd have to do, and Mike, please correct me if I'm wrong, is send some type of memo or some type of letter to payroll to start tracking their time effective last July. Was that correct?
Madam Chair, if I could, I think they're already doing that. So people are submitting timesheets, so that should be in their system already.
Okay.
So.
But with the, so now with the hiring of the HR person, they can start with the time tracking, or is that on the treasurer's side?
Well, it's all reported to the treasurer, so they should have a record of it. Certainly HR can get involved if they want to keep track of it as well too. But at least the data is being collected right now. The payroll, or the open position, the assistant treasurer position has been filled.
Mhm.
So now we are, and payroll is kind of stabilized with the new training of employees. So now we're moving forward with the electronic time and attendance
great.
module with Harper's right now. So they're going to start that onboarding process, and they'll probably start with town hall and then branch out to other departments from there. So
Okay, thank you.
yeah, that was on hold because our payroll person left, so
Mhm.
we had to train people on the current payroll, but before introducing another
Right.
module
Right.
into that as well too. So
And what's the time frame for that?
it's just onboarding probably by January. I think we were hoping to at least get town hall on by the first of the calendar year.
Right, good.
Okay, thanks.
All right, so, I guess then we'll keep the, Board of Health sick leave review, no change.
Yep.
And then next item, Mike, status of any and all open positions here at the town. I know you just mentioned that the, assistant treasurer position was filled.
Sure. So just kind of start down the list, but as I mentioned earlier, human resource manager position has been filled. So that person is on board. The assistant town administrator position is still in process. The building inspector, we had made an offer to a preferred candidate, but we weren't able to come to salary terms at this time. And the assistant town treasurer collector position has been filled as well too. So
So Mike, does that mean that the building inspector position will remain open, or we can continue negotiations with that candidate?
I think that's something we'll discuss with the select board. I think we talked about the last meeting and, kind of have some thoughts and some ideas of how to move forward. So
So the candidate itself would be open to the position if we can figure out a common ground.
it appears that way. Yep.
So have we gotten back to everybody in these open positions that didn't get the job? Because I've had some people ask me particularly about the assistant treasurer position, and I think it's really important that we get back to people in a timely manner if they didn't get the job, because you're still thinking.
Yep. No, I agree. Yep.
So are we complete in that process of getting back to people?
Not yet, but that is part of the process that we do send out letters to people and let them know. So,
Just to be clear, the assistant town treasurer collector, is that John's job or?
No,
No,
no, there's-
don't
been-
think.
one working for, with the ball.
Oh, it's the one Andrea had.
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
she just started 2 weeks ago.
okay, yeah, I knew that one. I thought you found John's replacement.
Yeah.
Okay,
Right.
thanks.
But you didn't replace the town treasurer job.
No,
Correct.
not yet. We
talked-
do have a consultant on
consultant.
board, and
Yep.
former treasurer is still acting as interim, and we have a consulting firm working,
Right.
helping as well too.
Okay, all right, good,
Yeah.
good, good.
Okay.
So that's good. It sounds like really the only one open is the building inspector position?
And assistant
Well,
town administrator.
Then town administrator, right.
Well, in the treasurer position.
which,
Which is the consultant for now.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm. All right. Any questions on any of the open positions from the board?
No, thank you.
So, thank you.
Thank you, Mike. Okay, so I'm going to just move up to the second item on the agenda. Matt Colbus, Board of Selectmen, is here to discuss a proposal on the new salary schedule.
Matt Cobus, 395 Wilson Street. So I have a couple handouts that I'll just provide to you. And I'll explain.
thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you, Matt. Thank you, Matt.
Smaller and smaller. They're breaking my glasses. Don't like wearing these on TV.
All right, so just based upon the positions that are open right now, and then looking at the salary structure that was approved in 2022. So the first sheet that I'll look at is just the salary schedule. So at the top, Mr. Ward provided the up-to-date salaries for the current scale. So you can see where, what was adopted and where it is today has changed just based upon the annual COLA increases.
Mhm.
And if you'll notice on the current step G, the salary, the high end of the salary, which I'll just focus on that piece of it, is $105,000. And then when you make a step to H, it's a $39,000 increase on the salary. If you look below on any other step, it's typically, you're looking at 8,000, 5,000, 11,000. So there's a pretty sizable gap. And right now, that, as with the building commissioner and even with potentially with the treasurer collector, that gap is kind of where it impacts those two positions significantly, because it's not on scale necessarily with the fire chief or the superintendent of the DPW or facilities. But the current position doesn't leave the town administrator much room to negotiate above that 105,000. And if you just look at the other sheet I provided to you, the other two sheets. So the Massachusetts Treasurer Collectors Association they do an annual salary study that they make available on their website. And based upon the people the towns who have responded to it, you can see on the first page where it has Clinton highlighted at 79,000. And then if you flip that page over, you'll see Clinton highlighted at 105,000. And that's the current range that's the range that was advertised for that treasurer collector position. Now, this spreadsheet is sorted by the salary amount of the respondents to the salary survey from the MTCA. So you can see 79,000 based upon who responded that's at the low end within the respondees. And then if you look at the second sheet that starts with Swampscott, that starts at 105,000. And if you flip over, it pops out at 159,000, right? So this is only for treasurer collectors. This doesn't include, Marlboro has a treasurer comptroller, I think is what it was referred to as. So I only wanted to look at treasurer collectors. So you can see the 105,000 is, tends to, even on that number, it tends to be towards maybe the middle of, you know, the median, I guess I would say, right? So I also, if you look at the fourth column where it says population, city, town, district. So I just highlighted communities that are within 2,000 to 3,000 of Clinton's population, which was currently just about 15,000 and change. So you can see plus or minus a couple thousand, you know, how the communities stack up. And then you can see in that, the next column, it shows the annual budget for these communities. So you can kind of compare a little bit of apples and apples to Clinton and similar sized municipalities. So that brings back to the salary scale, this sheet. What I looked at was, I looked at all the numbers and to get an idea of what the increase is from step to step, annually, and everything ranges. It was about, it's always right around 2%. So I also looked at what the, you know, what's around an average number of increases from the salary scale itself from grade to grade. So in looking at it, what I had kind of put together number wise was there would be, if there was a new step H that was adopted, that would then run from approximately 94,000 to 124,000, which tends to be in the neighborhood of the building commissioners. There's 2 posted jobs right now that are on the building inspector's website for the state. And those numbers are like right around 115, 117, which was very similar to what the town administrator had mentioned about the feedback they were getting from the potential candidate. And so what would happen is that H spot, that new H level would basically be inserted, and then you would see just above it, you'll see new I, old H. So like basically, if you look below, you'll see the DPW superintendent facilities. Those would become I. There's no salary change. It's basically just shifting with the letter change. The police and the fire chief, I just basically left them as H because those are tied to the union contracts. And then on top of that, right now, the town administrator is currently on step I, or grade I should say. So which would become J. And then with the market for current town administrators, you know, our town administrator currently is at the top end of his scale, but for the market, it's, you know, there's room for that for that compensation plan to be expanded
With the new I.
which would be the new K.
Yeah.
New
Okay.
K.
Yep.
So in looking at that, if the salary scale was to be adopted, the town administrator's salary would still remain on, the town administrator would then be reclassified to K, which still falls on that scale where it currently is. And then the treasurer collector, whatever, you know, ultimately whatever the decision or discussion would involve, could either be H or it could be I. H would bring that position up to approximately 124,000, or if it was reclassified as the new I, that would bring it up to, you know, that 125 is right in the middle of it. So either way, it's still, you know, it just allows more flexibility for the negotiation and a potentially a much different candidate pool to select from.
Agree.
Yep.
And the building inspector, if that was to become the new H, that falls within the range of what's posted and so on.
Yep.
And then as far as the assistant town administrator, which is currently an F, you'll see that position was advertised up to approximately $89,000. And just based upon some discussion and research of that position, if it was to fall within the I area, it's still, it still allows a range from 109,000 to 144,000. So it's not necessarily, one of the things that we seem to be faced with often is a new person coming in tends to start at the very top of that scale. And then
Right.
that allows for just the COLA increases annually.
Right.
So by moving that position, which it would be an increase in salary based upon the current scale, but it would also be within that ballpark of if the
Mhm.
person, however the town administrator would decide, where to place, it
Mhm.
offers room for growth and if,
Mhm.
Right.
in up to
Mhm.
the town administrator's judgment.
Mhm.
So, I just wanted to kind of put this forth before you, so you could kind of take a look at it. And, right now, even if we were to repost the treasurer collector job, we're in the same exact boat we were in when this was initially advertised and when I was doing, some calling, that number, the proposed schedule would be about where it would be more competitive than what we're currently at, which we top out at 105.
Mhm.
Mhm.
So I looked for more, for more comps, even on like the town administrator side. In the last comp, Bolton was $193,000.
Mhm.
And, the assistant town administrator position is a little more challenging to find comps because of whether it's the role or whether it's the title. But I think in terms of these valuable positions that are open, that we have not had, great luck at filling,
Mhm.
I think
Right.
it comes back to the compensation piece of it.
Yeah, and I think it also is a scenario where you find yourself, because of where you are in the scale, you're often compromising and saying, well, we could get this person, so, and it's that number, so okay, good.
We're gonna
And that's
sell.
not always in the best interest of the town, because you're not having a discussion around, is it the ideal candidate or is it the right candidate? It's sort of like, this is where it sits.
Right.
And I think that hamstringing ourselves like that is.
Mhm.
Right, because that's what we can
Think we tough.
afford, so.
Like, I mean, I don't know enough about the building inspector situation, but if we're like $5,000 or $10,000 off on the building inspector, and we like the person and the person likes us, and we're a $80 million town, and we're gonna not fill that position over $5,000 because of what a grid says, like
Agreed.
that's just
Right,
Right.
that's a problem.
that's negligent on our
Yes, it
part,
is.
not to make a fix, to have the ability to make a better decision. I want to point out, even if you adopted the new salary, that's not saying everybody that's on
Right.
our current scale gets a raise. It says
Right.
it says you reclassify, so
That's
therefore
right.
you can make decisions about putting people
Right.
on a scale where they
Right.
belong.
Right, based on
Exactly.
performance, based on tenure,
Experience.
based on experience, based on what they bring to the table,
Right.
so.
And that was the nature of that Collins Center study. This is exactly what that model that was put forth by the non-union employees and what was adopted at town meeting. This is exactly what that model stands for, is that you can add steps and things
Right.
just,
Exactly.
they slide upward. So as any
Mhm.
additional grade levels are entered, then the town administrator,
Right.
that position would continue to slide.
Mhm.
Um,
Nope. Yep.
Makes
I
sense.
like it. It does make sense.
Yeah.
Two things. First of all, you got way too much time on your hands. That's but if we endorse this, and I'm asking this question, I don't know the procedure, but if we endorse this, it would have to go to the selectmen and the finance committee, would it still have to go to town meeting? So is this something that could take effect this fiscal year, or would you have to wait till July 1st?
That'd be a question as town council. The
Mhm.
previous grid did get adopted by town meeting, so I'm assuming you would have to go through that same route, but that's something that
Right.
Mr. Gibbons could weigh.
Mhm.
So we would just,
But,
go ahead, because I think we're.
but today we would recommend it to the Board of Selectmen if we were to approve it the way it stands.
Is that the
today.
process, Mike? I guess that's what we're
Yeah.
asking.
So we'd be saying endorse it, right?
Right, because if it has to go to town meeting, then it would be a recommendation from the personnel board.
Yep.
Would have to go as a warrant article by the selectmen. I'm sure the finance committee would want to review the numbers as well too.
And why do they need to review the numbers from a budgetary perspective?
Yeah.
Right, because
Budgets
it's
we
gonna
have.
be,
Mhm.
Yeah, I'm just asking because I mean, I understand from a budgetary perspective, but I don't know why they would need to approve anything else other than if it's within the budget.
Well, and again, I think I'd want clarity to say like adopting a salary scale does not mean that if Johnny's getting paid $110,000 today and we adopt a new scale, Johnny goes to 140.
Correct.
Right.
What it means is that all the jobs get reclassified in accordance with the new scale, and then you have more room to make decisions on the scale.
At
We're not
review
talking about-
time,
we're not
at-
talking about
Right.
voting
at
on
raise
what we had
time,
2
yeah,
years ago,
right.
because we were actually voting to
Exactly.
Give those people money.
Exactly.
Right.
And
So I'd like clarification as to like, are we talking about
Right, so get rid of
the
Right.
former or the latter,
Yeah.
right? Because if we're talking about adopting a new scale for hiring, adoption, and where we go from here, then all the positions we currently have are going to slide on the scale and stay the same pay.
exactly right.
We're not
Right.
endorsing saying we're
Correct.
looking to pay anybody more money. So therefore,
Correct.
do we actually need?
Right.
Are we able to act on this, or do we need? Is this something? Because it's not going to have any money tied to it, other than
Right.
recruiting for new positions.
And I think the only, and again, this would just be, you know, my non-legal opinion, you know, when we went through this process of adopting this salary scale at town meeting, it was because it was a complete change and overhaul
Mhm.
based upon what was there into something that was completely different, right? There was the adding of, from 9 steps to 15 steps.
Mhm.
The grade levels changed from, went from, numeric to alpha. So I would be skeptical that of an argument saying that this isn't changing anything that was already adopted. It's
Right.
just it's adding, which
Just-
is exactly what
right.
that Collins Center study
So,
recommended.
Yeah, so you're
Right.
just adding.
so
Yeah.
make a motion that we endorse this pending guidance from town council. And-
Well, as far as next steps go.
Right, yeah,
I
so,
mean,
because then if there is something, because like, even the part where, it has like treasure correct H or I, we're endorsing it as it is right now without recommending whether it's H or an I, we're just trying to get the process moving. And then if it, again, if Attorney Gibbons comes back and says there's something we need to do, actually
Mhm.
crunch, set everything that we could do, that at least endorse it to go forward, to Ellen's point, to find out what the next step is. That's my long-winded.
Second.
Right.
So we can move it along and find out what the.
And I guess, we need to have a process for how we do this in the future. Like this, we should already know how to do this. We shouldn't have to be asking every time we want to do something like this. We should have a process for how we do this. So, because as we discussed in prior meetings, I mean, if we have the best candidate and we're held hostage because we can't
Got
negotiate a
$10,000.
salary, that's a problem.
Right. I agree.
Just like if we want to save somebody
That's right.
and we're held hostage because we can't.
Well, we just had it.
Yeah, we just
Right,
had a
meeting.
yeah,
We had
right.
somebody.
So, there needs to be a process in place on how we do that.
Mhm.
And so I guess that should be part of what we want
So,
town council to
Mhm.
help us with too.
agree.
Yeah, and if it's a matter of expediting the process, whether it was a special town meeting, whatever the case may
Mhm.
be, with the urgency of trying to fill these positions with qualified candidates,
Right.
then we can't wait until July
Right.
to
No.
Agree.
continue going down the same.
That's right.
That's correct.
That's right.
Well, especially
Right.
where like we've sat now in probably 3 consecutive meetings and heard from how difficult it is
Right.
to find folks.
Bill. Right. Right.
Yeah, so at least
Right.
it's.
So like,
Yep.
if we have the opportunity to hire people that we like and we're in alignment and we're talking about not doing it because we can't come to an agreement on salary and we're talking about plus or minus 10%,
Right.
whatever it is. Like, I mean,
Exactly.
See, and just one last thing that I just want to point out. So if you look at the furthest column to the right, how many years you've been in your position, you'll see that some of the candidates who are in the neighborhood of our current range and even beyond, there's not a lot of candidates who have been in those positions greater than 5 years. So there is definitely movement
Mhm.
and there is an opportunity
Right.
to attract a qualified candidate with a competitive salary.
Yeah.
Agree.
Right. Yeah, definitely.
and I like the idea of just personally, I like the idea of thinking about a proposed new scale versus setting precedent with one-offs where we say,
Right.
well, we really need this assistant town administrator position or this building inspector position. So let's reclassify it so we can get the person in that we
Yeah.
want.
Right.
But when that person decides to leave or go somewhere else in 3 years, we have the same problem. because We
Right.
haven't fixed it.
Exactly.
So
Right.
but if we have
exactly
the
right.
opportunity to fix it, so we
Right.
don't have
I
those challenges
agree.
in the future, that would be a benefit to the town.
Yeah,
Correct.
no, agree.
Absolutely agree.
Okay, so I heard a motion to recommend to the town attorney for review.
Yeah, just to,
To move it forward.
yeah, to move it forward
Yeah.
and find out what
To
the,
move forward.
our endorsement and then see what the, see what Attorney
Right.
Bennett says and what the.
Right, and-
I'll
selectmen-
second.
Matt second, all in favor?
Aye.
All right.
Thanks, Matt.
Thank you, Matt. Good
Thanks.
job.
Yeah. Nice work.
Find another hobby.
He's serving the town, Brady. He's serving the town.
I know.
Exactly.
He knows.
Filling his capacity.
Doing his job.
Okay, next item is the personnel bylaw review. So with your package, there is a copy of the personnel bylaws. Um, You know, I think we have to start
Yeah.
at the beginning, at the table of contents, and just did everybody, I'm sure not,
Yeah, I made
you know.
four, yeah, right there.
Yeah, no, I know.
So
Yeah.
I think that this kind of, getting into this review kind of addresses what Ellen was just talking about. And we had talked about this in past meetings is I couldn't find anything in here, but it's probably something we need to address is, if that issue comes up, how do you go about
Right.
deviating from from the current pay to,
Mhm.
we probably have to, I don't know if we all just take a whack at this over the next month and see what we come up with or, at the. next
Yes.
meeting,
Right.
And then go from there, because anything, and Mike could speak to it, I believe it has to be done by maybe March, right, at the
Mhm.
latest, because then the legal would have to look at it and then the selectmen have to get it.
With
So,
any changes.
right, and then it would have to go,
Right.
So it gives us about 3 meetings,
Mhm.
for us to get together and say, this is what we want to propose, and then.
Yeah, so we'll have some homework to do.
Yeah. over the next
Exactly.
month.
So, but the part one really is administration
Yeah.
and administration of the bylaws
Right.
and that. So I think if we start with part two
Yeah, we can just skim through it.
and
help
then
with the,
talks about recruitment, probation, orientation, probation. Part three talks about compensation and classification.
Right.
and
Mhm.
that would be.
And then the overtime, I did look at those. That has to be clear, a little more clear in this policy.
Okay.
Mhm. And then part four talks about standards of conduct. So I guess if we each, starting with part two, if we each take a section and write down, review and write some notes and possibly share at is our next meeting too soon, or do you
No,
want to move that out?
I think it,
So,
Yeah.
because remember, we were up against a time crunch
Right.
with the
Yeah, we're only gonna-
town meeting.
yeah, I don't think I mean, even if we meet and we don't have many changes, we can still, because I don't know.
Right.
I don't know if it's something.
When would our next meeting be?
January something.
Oh, yeah, so I definitely think, yeah.
So it has to be by
Yeah.
the next meeting.
Kind
Okay.
of, I could, we could, I obviously share with the, I don't know how much of an input, but the new HR and,
Mm-hmm.
see if he's got
Right.
any
That's a good idea.
suggestions, and even whether it's the non-union employees, I mean, maybe there's people in the town hall that have some,
Mhm,
thoughts on, they read through it, they don't want to find, but if they say,
Okay.
because it's more eyes on it, because, we don't, we hate to go through all this whole process, pass a town meeting and find out we made another admin error and we have to do this all
Mhm.
over again.
Exactly. All right. So I don't.
When's the last time this was ever looked at? Do you know?
The previous personnel board did go through it and they didn't bring any recommendations to town meeting.
Okay.
Because they were ready to go that meeting, but then they were gonna hold off till the next one, but then the board changed.
Oh,
Okay.
Yep.
Because I don't remember what they were, but I remember it's
There's an admin.
past meetings, we were struggling with the fact that we couldn't do certain things because
Oh,
of this.
right,
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, it was, the whole pay thing.
Yeah.
It didn't give the town administrator any
Right.
flexibility
Mhm.
to give somebody an extra dollar, It was-
Right. Okay.
Okay. Does somebody, so part two, who wants to take part two?
But we just,
We'll each,
I was just
take
gonna
the-
read through the whole thing.
or are you going to write the whole thing? Do,
I'll probably just read through the whole, I mean,
Okay,
I mean, like you
that's
said, there might
fine.
be
I
some,
wasn't sure what.
yeah,
it
there might be
was.
stuff in the beginning that are just admin.
I was gonna say, maybe we review the whole thing and then come back with,
our-
like
Yeah,
an
so-
asterisk next to areas where we feel like we want to have a conversation. Like,
Yeah.
like
Yeah, that's-
clearly after tonight, you know, when you look at like classification and compensation,
Yep.
we probably have some notes there, right? Whereas maybe if you're looking at
Right.
pre-employment or additional employment, if there's nothing there, then we don't really have to tackle that.
Right.
We're not going to probably boil the ocean on this thing.
No,
but
no,
If
right.
there's
No,
But just some
the
ones
top
that
3 to 5 that we all
but
need to
from a
address.
previous
Yep,
meeting,
absolutely.
we
Right.
kept saying.
Right. That we couldn't-
I don't know, I'm new to the board for the past few meetings, but if there's anything you guys outlined previous that you wanted to address, like I'm happy to look at notes or review that too.
It'll trigger.
You know,
me.
I think we had a lot, I know. Annual performance evaluations, don't we have that discussion?
Oh, yes.
'Cause
Yes.
that's in here
Yes.
too, so that's a whole section. that we're
Right.
gonna-
Yeah, and I think there's some.
Yeah, you're
I don't
right.
Get too long, but I think there's some parts in here that I don't know if it's kind of vague, but now that you have an HR, that the personnel board may be able to, and I don't, they basically give that authority to HR. I mean, we're only meeting once a month, so maybe there's something we could, the board can, I don't know, delegate, I don't know the word.
I mean,
Yeah.
actually,
To do that
we
on our
should
apps.
probably have a copy of this.
Yeah, I just said,
Yeah.
I'll give,
Mm.
me. He just started to me, but
Yeah.
say, hey, but
Give it to 'em.
any recommendations I need next week? But yeah, you know, just,
Just need them. by
yes.
January.
so they don't have to wait for
Yeah.
us to meet for something, you know. Yeah.
That's his physical. He's good.
We could task him while he's not here. But yeah, so it's,
All right, good.
Yeah,
So
okay.
that sounds like a plan. All right. What else? Old and new business. I think one of the old businesses was the Board of Health thing, so that's
Right.
done. No one's here for public comments. Mike, did you receive anything? About that? Okay,
All right, so next.
all right.
The 7th of January.
Tuesday. Okay,
That works for me.
that works for me.
The 7th.
I'm
The
traveling.
7th?
I'm traveling the week after, so
Oh.
that 7th
Oh,
would be
would
great.
it be?
Okay.
Okay, sounds good.
So the 7th.
So next
5.
meeting is set, January 7th, at 5 PM. Mhm. All right, and then I would make a motion to adjourn.
I will give you that motion.
tell him,
Thank you.
tell him, done.
All set.